Hello, and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed. And we are reading the Philosophical Midwifery book to understand the nature of human problems, specifically the most insidious class of human problems, the class of human problems that is immune to evidence and reason, the class of human problems that cause our repeating cycles of suffering, in doing so, we are learning the very art we are here as human beings to learn. Now, in philosophy, we learn about what learning is, and we discover that it's a kind of remembering. Our soul once knew the nature of eternity or the nature of pure being before we incarnated into this world. And that's where we discovered things like beauty and justice, or rather we knew things like beauty and justice, so that as soon as we come into this world, we recognize it. We can recognize beautiful things and just things, and we are born seeking beautiful things and just things. Where do we learn this from? If that is the case, then we can't have learnt it here. Especially since you never see beauty itself. You never see equality itself. You can never draw two lines that are equal, but we recognize it. We recognize it enough to make that judgment that we can never see it. That's my button, by the way. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, I suppose. And you don't have to see or hear me cough because of this. See? So, good for you. Now, the fact of that is, that allows us to do what is real philosophy, not as Socrates calls the love of opinions, how we might understand philosophy today, paying a lot of money to read a lot of boring books that are all covered in dust and make you sneeze, and it's not a lot of fun usually, and usually those books aren't written well, and usually people who claim to understand them might not understand them very well. In order to use that education to justify the opinions you already carry, or what Socrates calls love of opinions, philodoxia. That's not philosophy. What we are discovering for ourselves by learning to read in a new way, without any interpretations, without adding things that aren't there, and without leaving things out that are there, what we are discovering is philosophy is the study of being. The study of being, which is, if you were to think of it ontologically, to use one of those fancy words that I was just talking about. Ontology is what exists in reality. Well, there's a physical world, that's what we're born, thrown into, but there's also a realm prior to that, that's outside of time and space, called being, which is why certain concepts are universal. Sameness is the same for everyone. Strength, health, beauty, justice, these are always the same. In fact, that's one of the dialectics Socrates went through with Meno. And we're reading Meno at the moment. Meno is somebody who thought justice was different. White people have a different standard of excellence than... He didn't say that. He says, I'm updating it for modern politics, but he said men, the excellence and virtue of man is different from women. And slaves shouldn't have the same privileges that us men have, and so their excellence is different as well. And old people, different again. So different for all people, and then Socrates said, hey, let's reason through that. Let's look at things that we consider good, like health and strength, things that even you can see in the physical world, and let's see if it's true for everyone. And what do you know? It is. Therefore, Therefore, we can say that even those same things that we consider excellences of the soul would therefore also be the same. Therefore, anyone who tries to exclude other races, people in other socio-economic brackets, or women are wrong. That was something that was very hard for Mino to accept until the end of the book, where they came to see it again, and Mino said, well, that other guy who tried to have a dialogue with you, Socrates, a dialectic with you, Anytos, and then stormed out, he would get very pissed to hear that women are smarter than men. In a lot of instances, especially us, the sorts of people who consider the statesmen to be wise, they're not. And there are women who know that, and there are people from Sparta, another race, who know that. Therefore, this idea of excellence, that there is a hierarchy of people based on where you're born and based on your sex or the money that you're born into, is crazy and wrong. So one of the questions we have is Mino really accepting that? Has he really changed? Can he change his mind?
Imagine people changing their positions and improving for the better.
Or is he not really changing his mind and he's just scapegoating Anytos? Anytos would be pissed about that, but not me. That's one of the questions we have from that book. Now, so why are we talking about that here? Well, the idea that learning is remembering, and our soul comes in with a vague memory, thumbs up, of those aspects of pure being, such that we can recognize it, such that we are born seeking it, is one of the conditions and causes for us developing problems. Because when we're young, before we discover the Balboa version of the Balboa translation of Plato's works, before we discover this awakening philosophy channel and go on the quest to learn to move through the cognitive functions from sense thinking and opinions and beliefs to reasoning, understanding, logos, dialectic, and beyond that to remembering or re-experiencing or reawakening that part of our soul that might still already be in the realm of being, so we can confirm our understanding of being in our own direct experience. Before we go through all that, we're little babies, about this big. Little babies. Speaking of babies, here's my baby Stuffy that sits with me and does philosophy. We're little babies, just like this, about this big. And we are dependent on parental figures who notice when we are being our best kinds of selves, when we are functioning in a way beyond what they are used to, what they have been able to reach, focusing on our own goals, contemplating and not doing practical things that you can, use for slavery or use to benefit yourself from. They come in with their bullshit and they say, no, not in this house. Don't you get it? If you are this open and curious and authentic, people will take advantage of you. And I love you so much that I'm going to crush this desire to know and show the self out of you. That's the pathologos origin scene that every single human being gets. If you think, well, no, not my mummy and daddy, wake up, slap. I say to you,
don't be disgusting.
Don't be disgusting. Even your parents, even your next door neighbor, everyone who lives on your street, everyone who lives on the street next to your street, everyone. It's part of being human. Because we are dependent on them from a young age, with a soul that is seeking beauty and is looking for beauty, recognizing beauty in some way, beauty, justice, strength, such that when they play out their make pretend time, being the god king of the house, or the priest king of the house, we would say, we believe that shit and we take the blame. Well, if they treated me in that kind of a way, And for me, that seems like an unjust thing to do. I would never think of such a thing. There must be something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with that self-goal I was seeking. And it might have, well, and it was usually too dangerous for someone at that age. I mean, there's a bit of leeway there. Too dangerous for us to speak up and challenge and question them. Of course, if we could go back, we would. Even if it meant our death, which it could do. If our parents are if they're showing themselves in this way that appears strong, maybe seems loving, seem like they're caring about me, they're giving me their full attention in a way they don't normally do. If I question that, that could be it for me. Thinks us as little babies. So what do? We take the blame to maintain a false image of beauty and justice of our parents or parental surrogates in that origin scene. So our job is to address that injustice, address that insult against the self. That's what we're learning to do here. We have to go back with the logos, with reason and reflection, with integrity, not being a Nazi dog, being loyal without reason. But say, hey, this is what you were actually doing. You weren't being a parent in that scene. It wasn't good or caring. It was unjust. By the way, where do you think you learned that bullshit? Was it done unto you? That's the issue. We do unto others the same injustice that was done unto us until we learn the art of philosophical midwifery that we are here to learn as human beings, because it can only be learnt here because we are learning through time. It takes time. It's not just one talk. There are stages we go through. So we find friends who are also in this game that we can share a coffee with and reflect every day. Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the chat. So that we can give the problem back to who it belongs to, so we can go back to where we left off when we were 3 or 4 years old and pick up our quest to discover the truth about beauty, the truth about justice, and the truth about ourself. We want to know what our self is, and we want to know the reality that we're in, as well as our role in it. That's the game we're picking up. We're going back to where we left off. So, it's an interesting predicament we're in as human beings. We have the tools to discover the truth about self. Yeah, boo for that origin scene. Okay, boo. We have... Yes, human interpretation of beauty is a strange thing to me. Yes, we have what we need to seek beauty. We have that drive in our soul. If you're walking down the street or you're scrolling through Twitch or whatever, and you see a beautiful person, you can't help but notice them. No one has taught you to notice them. No one has to remind you, you just know it straight away. Equally so with justice. We recognize when someone is kicking a dog or something, that's unjust. We have that recognition at some level of the aspects of being. These are all parts of being. We have that drive to know being. We have language, and we have the ability to ousia, turn back around upon ourselves and reflect on ourselves, meaning we have everything we need to progress through the different stages of being, of reality, which accompany different cognitive functions. Just like you see color with your eyes, but you don't see sounds with your eyes, you hear sounds with your ears. Similarly to, you experience different levels of reality with different cognitive functions. And at every stage of development, you benefit. You benefit by learning to understand, to move out of beliefs and opinions, because beliefs and opinions are stupid. They don't have to be right. Most of them are wrong. You might get lucky and have the right opinion per chance if you're divinely inspired, which is what we read last time in the Meno. Or if you're doing the work well, you're reading the books that we read here, Socrates, Pierre Grimes, and doing dream analysis, and you're actually gathering right opinions. But you've got to nail those right opinions down with understanding. Understanding can also be applied to being, not in the experience itself. It's an all-at-once kind of a feeling, kind of a deal, because it's eternity. But you can reflect on it with understanding and recognize there are aspects of it. It's the study of those aspects that is philosophy. So as you progress, you benefit by progressing through cognitive functions. You become less prejudiced and ignorant, and you're able to think and reason for yourself and create in a better way. So we have all that at our disposal as human beings. But you know what? Most people don't do it. I wonder why. Well, here's the thing. If you don't do it, reality is not satisfied with that. Self is not satisfied with that. Thus, we have problems. We are forced into situations where no matter what we do, we keep repeating the same cycles of failure, same suffering, the same inability to reach our goals over and over and over again, forcing us to pick up our quest to know the self. Because the only way out of your problems is philosophical midwifery, which is the dialectic. The dialectic is that art that we have to reflect on ourselves with words to know ourselves and the nature of reality, to seek beauty, to actually reach beauty and justice. You have to learn it because that's the only way of getting you out of your problems. Whether they're problems you live out in the practical world, in the everyday world, whether they're problems you play out in your dreams, whether they're problems you play out in your fantasies and daydreams, whether you go and sit under a tree in the forest with the bears, meditate every day, you will still face your problems. They'll just play out as distractions and fantasies to your meditation. Or they will play out as you eat the wrong berries out in the forest, escaping from the everyday world. You're forced by reality to learn the art of the dialectic. And it can only be done here. As we said, understanding isn't in the experience of pure being because it's a oneness, but when you come back, you can reflect on it through time. Gosh, I'm excited because I plan to meditate in the mountains. Well, if you go out in the mountains to meditate, make sure you've got the dialectic with you in your back pocket. It's rattlesnake season. Oh yeah. Well, make sure you've got the anti-snake repellent as well with you. So, reality and self is not satisfied with this insult against yourself. It is not satisfied with this injustice. You will get your problems wherever you are. That's part of the what do you call it? That's part of the contract for being here as a human being. So we're in an interesting position where we have what we need to develop an understanding of self and reality that we can take with us beyond this lifetime, beyond this dimension, and beyond even being, beyond even the greatest experience possible. But as a side effect, we also get the distortions and problems that arise because of those qualities of being human in time and space. Our seeking the nature of beauty, self, reality, justice is so strong that the fake images and the distortions of it when we are young become the most powerful force in our universe. So often I will make jokes about people saying, well, not my mummy and daddy. My daddy is the best and my mummy was a saint. But obviously my next door neighbors, they're nuts. And I know their kids think that their parents are the best because when I made a joke, I made a yo mama joke and they got mad. And I was like, but your mama isn't wise and or really caring. We see how she does X, Y, and Z. To them, they're mistaken. Oh, and those people overseas, they're mistaken. And the people in those crazy religions that are not mine, they're mistaken. But not mine. So I make those jokes to point to the absurdity of that position, but I don't do it as a way of insulting anyone who has that position, because we all start having that position. And it takes courage and integrity, the genuine desire to seek truth above all else, to challenge that. And it's the hardest thing we can do, because it's the most powerful force in the universe. So what? Well, by addressing those problems that come from that false conclusion, from that origin scene, we have to, if we actually want to remove our problems, we have to learn the dialectic. And to test out our dialectic on our problems, we have to seek our most meaningful goals, which means we better get our nose in the Mino, or another Platonic dialogue, translated by one Balboa so it's actually the real words and not some bullshit fed to us through assholes and their problems through history. We can actually read the Greek now. Meaning the fact that we have problems allows us to learn this art of the dialectic to purify or remove what's false, to go from sickness to health, but also to apply that same dialectic to the truth, to go from health to excellence. If you're unwell, you go to the doctor, you get healthy, but you're not in the excellence of your physical form unless you go to the gym, do some physical training, play a sport. From health to excellence. That's where we are as human beings. So everything we learn about the method to remove our problems, the dialectic called philosophical midwifery, we're also gaining an extra benefit.
A win-win-win-win-win. It's a win-win.
By learning that dialectic that we equally can apply to philosophy. Oh, and by the way, our personal guru or guide in both of those activities, we also learn to connect with by applying that exact same dialectic. Our personal guru is our dream master that crafts our dreams for us each night. And you only get the meaning of your dreams if you apply the dialectic to it, which is what we're learning on the channel. So, by solving your problems, my alarm's going off, you gain the benefit of freeing yourself from the problems and learning the art to free your friends, lovers, and loved ones from the art as well. You learn how to have an actually true friend or loving relationship. So that's already a win-win.
It's a win-win.
But you're also learning what you need to apply to philosophy and to dream analysis. And if you were to make it to whatever art you have, whatever profession or skill that you actually have as well, you can apply the dialectic to do that well as well. You can make your work meaningful and profound. That will make people interested in it. So those are the 4 pillars. Philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and mythology, or applying it to everything else that you do. So, if that's the case, we better nail down the dialectic of how to remove our problems. Fortunately for us, we know where to get those right opinions. It's up to us to translate those right opinions into understanding by reflecting on it several times, as much as we can, every time over coffee until we nail it down. See the dialectic structure in it. See how these stages of philosophical midwifery align to the dialectic. And that's not enough. You got to go out and apply it, either in reaching your most meaningful goals in those 4 areas that we talked about, and as well in midwifing other people, helping others to remove their problems. That's how you test or verify in your own experience. So you don't end with belief, even true belief or right opinions. Nope. You got to make it your own. And make it a habit. Make it your way of being. If you make it your way of being, you can take it with you everywhere. Even when there's chaos around you, you can have the peace and centeredness of a philosopher king. Oh, and even in any dimension you might find yourself in this lifetime or in whatever lifetime beyond, you can bring that way of being with you. The way of being that Socrates called in the Meno the friendly and true loving art of the dialectic. So let's find those stages and nail them down in right opinion and hopefully understanding too. And hey, maybe even after watching this, you can go out and apply that understanding and nail it down in your experience. Let's jump in. Here it is. The stages of the dialectic. See, isn't that neat? It's written right there. I am experimenting with a new setup. For my streaming, moving everything to the side of the table that has the big leg in the middle. I got this from my back. This doesn't really work. I don't know what it's supposed to do. But you're off the team. So if I fiddle around for a while, it's because I'm trying a new setup. That's why we're closer on this way. See, we're closer to the Godzilla, and that's why I have to move the big stuffy over a little bit. The stages of the dialectic. Okay, we've gone through this. This is our third time through it, so hopefully it's becoming more and more clear to us. But it's worth going through it a few times because it's it. This is what we're here to learn. And we can only learn it here. And all of the suffering and the injustice and the problems and the ignorance that we face in our world are to direct us to this. So somewhere before we were born, we must have decided, well, in order to be forced to or be heavily encouraged to or reminded to learn this, I'm willing to be born into a life, into a world that's in time and space with human beings who are ignorant, in a family that I will believe to be wise, that will cause my ignorance. I will go through all this bullshit we see around us, knowing, well, I'll forget, but now as I make the decision, I will choose to go through that because it's the conditions to learn this very thing. I can't learn it in being because it has to happen through time. That's understanding. These are stages. These are steps. It's not all at once. But going through it through time, step by step, has an effect on those all at once experiences, whether they're spiritual experiences you have here or spiritual levels of reality that you have beyond this lifetime, so long as you've mastered your work here, so long as you've leveled up, you've completed your quest. Then there must be some significant benefit to taking this with you in your back pocket into those higher dimensions of reality that you find yourself in beyond. Again, that's a hypothesis. It's up to you to test it out. So, this is the big stuff. This is the epic part. These are the stages. This is the map. So let's go through it again. The Pathologos has a structure, function, and goal. Oh, and by the way, any questions in chat, feel free to throw them out. green. My Hulk juice. Oh, I'm hulking out. See? I milked Godzilla and I got that green Hulk juice. Ooh. The Pathologos has a structure, function, and goal that is the same in all Pathologos problems. It ain't personal. Don't be a little baby and say, well, my Jewishness or my Muslimness or my Christianness or my Protestantness or my Mormonness. No, grow up. My daddy and mummy were right when they... Come on. Now, by the way, just a little aside. Pierre Grimes, who rediscovered, as we read in chapter 1, the philosophical midwifery, and then later realized or discovered that this was known by the perennial philosophers. Perennial philosopher means the parent philosophers. Back then there was just philosophy. Today we think there are many philosophies. Kant and Hegel have their philosophy, and Trump has his philosophy, and my Aunt May has her crazy ass philosophy, and my racist uncle has his philosophy. That's not philosophy. Perennial philosophy points to the single philosophy. Of course, if there is a truth, it's just the truth. It's not different for different people. That's what we just talked about with the Mino. So, when Pierre was rediscovering this and formalizing it, and we have the scientific or empirical validation studies at the end of this book as well. It's the only form of psychotherapy that's been empirically proven to work, which is neat. Of course, it isn't neat if you're attached to something else. Then you might get butthurt about it, but, you know, grow up. He wasn't as straightforward as I am. As we read, even the awareness of spirituality back in the 50s and 60s was unheard of in Western culture, in American culture. So it had to be sort of introduced slowly and gently. He wouldn't lie and say, well, everyone's opinions are right, but he'd be more encouraging and subtle and slow moving with introducing it to the boomers and to the generation before the boomers. But we're a different generation. We're the TikTok generation. We're the internet generation. And we're the generation with enough nuclear weapons for people's pathologos to play out to the extinction of our entire race. We're the generation that can screw over everyone through the extreme capitalism and wealth inequality, the extreme warhawks and pathologos playing with drones and nuclear weapons. And we have seen with people like Trump and the Joe Rogan sphere and the Daily Wire and the Fox News and all of these people who are actively harming everyone, that if we play nice and say, well, you know, maybe we should be gentle, they don't play nice. They'll take that and they'll run with it and they'll say, well, you know what? I'm not playing nice. I'm saying my Nazi shit is right. I'm saying that we should genocide the Palestinians. I'm saying we should have billionaires that take away everything from everyone else, because what else are you going to do with your billions of dollars? Buy everything. They don't fuck around. So we can't fuck around. People who are telling the truth. People who are addressing the injustice. People who are learning how to address that injustice. And it ain't with bombs, it's with this. It's not with punitive justice. It's not with punishing people. It's not with retributive justice or revenge. Nope. The way of addressing them and our problems is saying, hey, look, that's what you're doing. Do midwifery now. And that might be more painful to them at the beginning than punching them in the nose or whatever. For the good people, this is brilliant and fun and the best game in town and awesome. You get to understand yourself. You get to have fun with the best sorts of people. You get to free yourself from your problems. You get to be able to think better and see better without distortions. You get to be able to reach your highest goals. You get to be able to experience higher levels of reality beyond this physical world. It's fucking awesome. It's
a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win. But for the people who are most attached to their sickness and ignorance, especially if we've thrown them billions of dollars and allowed them to play out their ignorance to the deaths of hundreds of thousands or millions of human beings, to them it won't be fun at the beginning. That's the kind of justice that we need. That's the kind of justice that we are evolving into as rational beings, if we get there. And the only way we can get there is by learning this. So, with all that in mind, that's why I just tell the truth. I don't fuck around. I know that I'm going to have everyone here. Catholics and Mormons and Jews and Muslims and you pick it, you name it, they'll be here. And I know that every single person here has got a parent or parental surrogates. Everyone is going to have their precious beliefs and loyalty. And that's fine. I do too. We all do. That's part of being human. But this channel, you can have that so long as you have the courage and integrity to reflect on that and judge it. And if it's not true, it goes. But that's great. You're going to replace it with something better. Understanding. The self. So everyone is welcome here, but no babying. I'm not going to treat you like a baby. And I'm going to make fun of ignorance. It's not personal. I'm not making fun of you, because I have ignorance too. I had my own religious bullshit too. But we're going to have fun making fun of what's ignorant. And we're not going to fuck around. There's no time to fuck around. As we say, this used to be esoteric, special, to prove your stripes and show that you've meditated and you've studied and you've done work on yourself and you've done personal development to even hear about this stuff. But now, no time for that. TikTok generation. Hard and fast, to the point. And by the way, on that note, I'm last time I talked about people who do a similar thing on YouTube, content creators who their content is speaking truth to the ignorant people who do claim to be knowers, but they're just fascists or Nazis or capitalists or that shit. People you see on Joe Rogan, those sorts of people. And I said, well, I like, there's one YouTube channel that does that, just speaking truth to ignorance. It's kind of entertainment, kind of slop, but the best kind of slop. Of course, we know.
I'm too pure.
Too stupid to understand.
You're doing your best.
You've been a
Okay,
bad user.
sorry, Betty.
We know those people from my soundboard, but also I was talking about there's one gurus. What's it called? Check my feed. Debunking Gurus, I think, one of them. Those lads are pretty fun. And also another one I just found. Oh yeah, the other one I mentioned in the last podcast episode. I got the name wrong. It's Professor Dave Explains. I just found his stuff. It's really fun. And it's the same thing. It's just he's someone who's smart about science and he just tells the truth about people who are ignorant about science, but talking as if they know. That's a sophist. They're the enemies of truth. Sophists. People who are presenting their ignorance as if they are knowers. Which is what our parents did to us in our origin scene. So our job is to go back, find our way back to that origin scene, recover it in our memory, and address it fairly, truthfully. Again, don't fuck around. Just tell the truth. Hey, you're not being a parent. You're not a mother. You're not a father. A mother or father would never do this if you knew the implications of what you're doing right now. And you don't because you haven't reflected on your shit. Here's what you're actually doing, because I have reflected on it. You're giving the problem back. They've given you a pencil. Oh, that's your pencil, not mine. And then at the end, throw in a question. By the way, ever wondered where you learnt this horseshit? You think this is knowing? Crushing people in this kind of a way? Being a tyrant in this kind of a way? Demanding blind loyalty or faith? Like some fucking religious con artist? You haven't realized where you got it from? You might want to look at that before you die. This is what you're here for. So, that's what we're doing. And in order to recover that memory of that origin scene, there's stages that you go through. Those are the stages of the dialectic. That's what we're learning here. Now, I might have to pause depending on what happens with something else, but let's see how far we can get. It might be a shorter stream today. We'll see. The Pathologos has a structure, function, and goal that's the same in all Pathologos problems. Because of this basic commonness, we often speak of a morphology or form. Morphology is a fun word to sound smart. Learn that one. There's a morphology. That just means form of problems, of such problems. Questions designed to surface the particulars of the Pathologos problem help us to fill out the nature of the problem. There we go. By following a method that stresses the order of questions, now that's what we're learning. We're learning the, that's fair. Oh, thanks, Sus. The order of questions, there's an order that we're learning. There are stages that you go through in our conversation, in the relationship with your midwife. And last time we talked about how an indication of progressing to a next stage is a new level of reflection upon yourself. Even thinking about the words that you use, even thinking about your problems is a level of ousia, self-reflection. That's rare for a lot of people. Just being here indicates you are at a level beyond the masses, the many, most people. So good for you.
Do a poggers.
However, there are also times when the midwife adapts the basic design of the questions to meet the particular needs of the subject. And it is at such times that the method itself becomes a map to chart the direction of the dialogue. So you can start by formally following the structure, but then you realize, it's like playing a sport or playing a game. You know the basic mechanics, but you got to play with it based on your situation, so long as you're still following the map. To chart the direction of the dialogue. Therefore, there is no need for the midwife to appear as the knower. So all those grifters and fascists and right-wingers and all those sorts of people. By the way, there is no right-wing party. It's just the Pathologos party. It's important to realize. And equally for the left. If you are saying you're progressive, progressive means progressing through the stages of evolution, the stages of cognition, in both addressing problems and solving them, and using the freedom from problems to progress through the logos. So really, there's only one political party, the Logos Party. And hopefully we're seeing a movement into that with people like, oh shit, I don't want to get his name wrong. The new Democratic candidate for New York. New York. How do you pronounce his name? Zoran Mamdani. Yeah. Someone who is saying, hey, let's not just do fascism and pathologo shit He doesn't say pathologos, of course. Maybe someone who knows him can say, hey, by the way, this is all that fascism shit that you are fighting against. There's a cause, a human cause. So we are seeing a change in the left to actually be progressive and not just be fascism light, which is what it has been up until now, because capitalism is fascistic in nature. Of fucking course it is. It's like, yeah, billionaires get to be fascist. Anyone who's ever worked for a boss knows that. Anyway, so there is no right wing. When I say right wing, I'm making fun of people who are bound together by their shared ignorance and injustice. Pathologos party. Which is why they never campaign on actually doing anything good. They only campaign on hurting people different from your family or clan. That's pathologo shit. Inside cave good, outside cave bad. And we hit them with clubs. Let's get going. Yeah, you don't have to appear like a Noah, as if they understand the meaning of everything the subject reveals, because the method itself arrives at the field of information, the field of data, from which the subject can puzzle out the meaning themselves of, and answer his problems. And in this sense, it is in this sense that the midwife only assists another in the birth of an idea and does not offer answers or interpretations. In following this procedure, the subject can be confident that the direction of the dialogue conforms to the art of midwifery. You don't give your answers, you don't give your interpretations, you follow the map, and if the midwife is veering off the map, it might be relevant to what's needed at the moment, or if it isn't, if it's going against the map and the principles of midwifery, you don't have to just be a fucking slave to them. You say, hey, by the way, I am also learning this because we're all here to learn this, and I recognize this might be not on the map. Let's have a look. Let's open chapter 4 and see if we are progressing through the stages. That's important. And if the midwife doesn't do that, gets angry, refuses to conform to the map for no other reason other than playing the role of the Noah, they are in a problem. And it will happen. Because this is the most meaningful thing you can do, it's definitely, as the highest goal for a human being, going to surface your pathologo stuff. So I'm just... it might seem weird or unfair that but when I point to this, I am very direct, but for good reason. I have been through many midwife talks with people who have hit their block and they have become fuckheads. They have gone into pathologos tyrant mode, and that's terrible to do. Because you're not just being a regular everyday tyrant, but you're really spitting on the openness, the integrity, the courage that people need to have to go through this process, to be honest about their problems. Most people don't like going to shrinks because of a similar problem. Either that or because, what's worse, shrinks they just don't know. So they get you to relive your trauma over and over again. And they don't know because they don't know this yet. But this is worse because, you're actually taking advantage of somebody doing the best that they can. So, I'll emphasize that every now and again, that it's normal to face your blocks as you are being a midwife. That's why we have these principles. Follow the map, reflect on your own problems, swap roles, or bring in a third party to help the midwife. Play musical chairs if you have a group. Go for an hour with someone and then swap, and then they used to have a lot of fun with that in the Noetic Society back in the day, I heard. Previous generation. Anyway, and also I had to learn that the hard way too. Pierre Grimes strongly suggested I go through it myself. Go through what it's like being midwifed by someone who's not able to do midwifery themselves. See what it's like. Fucking sucked. Anyway. You don't have to go through it. You can just benefit from my pain by understanding it as a principle. Like a doctor doesn't have to have cancer to understand cancer and understand it's bad. So take that as you will. What does that mean? I don't know. Benefit from other people's experience too. Let's move on. More Hulk juice. My Hulk juice is making me Hulk out. Roar. Principles and map and integrity. Hulk juice. Green. See. The dialectical method of midwifery presupposes a subject's willingness to participate in a joint venture of inquiry into the nature, the necessity, and the interrelationships of obstacles the subject encounters when pursuing their most meaningful goals. Thus, the subject comes to understand midwifery. So how do we address injustice in the world? This. You can't force people to go through it, but you can create the conditions so that the people who play out their have been playing out their pathologos on a global scale are taken away from that power to abuse others. My third alarm. And encouraged to pursue meaningful goals, not oppression or manipulation of human beings to acquire wealth and fame, but meaningful goals. And they will face their difficulties. And then they're given an opportunity to choose to participate. And in doing so, understand why they were doing the things they were doing and why they necessarily did the things they were doing. If you understand the causes, the forces on a person's soul, you can predict. We are all perfect. In that, we are all perfect representations of all of the forces upon our soul up until now. It's not a blame game. That can be hard to stomach for people like Benny Yahoo and Trump and Hitler and Stalin and Putin. Very hard to stomach. The pathologos is a zombie virus. We don't have it. It has us. Each stage of the dialectic is indicated by a bracketed capital letter. These will be referred to in later sections of the book. So this is what we're getting. We're getting the sections. I got new streaming pants. I'm just seeing if they fit well. You don't have to know what pants I'm wearing. You don't even see my pants. Anyway. Next thing will be getting a chair. So hopefully this week my music goes really well and I'll get some money for a new chair. I'll tell you all about it. Oh, and I'll be streaming music this week too. So as soon as I'm over this cold. So check out Jed Phoenix Music on Twitch if you want to jump in, listen to some tunes, and chat about this and your understanding and insights to do with philosophy too. So there are capital letters to indicate the 12 sections. And last time we broke it down into the numbers so we can see the 12. So let's do them both. We are hypothesizing that there are 4 sections of 3 to match the structure of the dialectic. We have expanded our understanding of the dialectic from these 4 sections. Look at this scribble. Let's get rid of the scribble here. The 4 sections we have been playing with. definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. Conclusion has 2 parts. That's only 4. And we have 12 stages of the dialectic in midwifery. Hey, Yoda Andrea. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is your world? I'm just deleting. I can delete faster with this tool here. Let's use that one. There we go. Brilliant. Delete. Okay, so these are the stages we've seen so far. Talking about anything? Here, ultimately we're looking to define our false image of ourselves, our pathologos belief about ourselves, but that's hidden. So we're kind of working backwards to that definition here. Whereas in philosophy, we go the other way. We start with what we have understood as the definition so far about justice or beauty. What can you say about beauty itself? Again, philosophy is not the physical world, it's being. How does it function? My world is great, thanks. Just having my morning coffee here near Seattle. Wow. Welcome. I also have my coffee. So when we say coffee, we drink coffee. And I have a very caffeine addicted stuffy that loves to sneak in and drink my coffee sometimes too. There he is. It's a flamingo. So if I'm not careful and keeping an eye on my coffee, my flamingo stuffy will get in there and drink it all. Hey! Get out of my coffee! Cheeky stuffy. So, any questions that you have, feel free to throw them out. It's a good time to do it because this is our review. And I will try my best to give a definition of whatever you're asking about. And if you don't understand the definition, what I'll do is I'll say how that thing functions. I will go to a demonstration. How does it function? Because we often see something by how it functions. I can tell you I'm a musician, but unless you see me playing music, you're not really going to know it. But even then, after giving a definition and a demonstration, you still might not understand my answer. But then I will go on to the next stage and say, hey, here are some examples or division. Here is how that thing we've defined and that functions. Let's see how it functions in all these various different things. Maybe something relevant to you. Maybe you're a football player. I'll say, hey, this is how excellence plays out on the football field. And then from that, we can come to a conclusion together. From those divisions, from those examples, from those implications, we'll find something running through all of them. Or maybe something that incorporates all of them. Or maybe one of those examples is superior or has a higher scope or is more causal. That's called synthesis. Synthesis. And then we'll take that key idea and take it back to the start. That's analysis. And that's the dialectic. That's the basic 4 stages of the dialectic. So what we'll end up with is a new definition with this new synthesis and analysis. So we'll end up with a better understanding, both of us, me as the one going through it, and you with the one with the question. We'll both end up with a better definition than when we started. So what we're doing here in philosophical midwife, that's the dialectic that we use to follow the logos or follow the understandable structure of reality that can lead us to awakening higher experiences of reality, higher levels of self-reflection, or ousia is the Greek word. We have to use it. We don't have a word for that in English. This is the map or paradigm or the archetype of meditation. Sustained focus, using your highest vision and understanding, in an open, curious mind, not going on tangents, so it's sustained focus for a period of time on something meaningful. Formally, that's meditation. All other meditations or yogas are just bits and pieces of that. But what we're doing here is we're applying it not to discovering the truth. It's a byproduct. We are doing it to uncover the false definition about those things, the false definition about self, reality, beauty, justice that we are carrying within our soul that we don't know we're carrying because we didn't put words on it when we were babies, when we were just little babies. So we took the blame for an injustice against us, which is the cause of our anger. And that origin scene, until we go back and address it fairly, is the cause of our projections and interpretations onto the world. It's the cause of us being stuck. It prevents us from going up that ladder of logos, dialectic, and ousia to know higher levels of reality, and beyond that, the self. It prevents us. It's our block. That's why human problems repeat, because people have not yet learnt the art of philosophical midwifery, which is just the dialectic applied to uncovering and purifying what's false. So, again, stop me whenever you have a question or whatever. But what we're seeing is, in chapter 4 of the book, that's not the book, that's me. Hi. That's the blackboard. Here's the book. Chapter 4 is the stages of the dialectic. The book we're reading is called Philosophical Midwifery, a new paradigm for understanding human problems. And the running joke for the last 50, 60 years has been, it should have been called the new paradigm. It's not a paradigm among many, it's the paradigm. Just like if you fix a car, there are not many different paradigms for how an engine works, there's just one. Which is great because anyone can be a mechanic. If you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're a Jew, if you're a Muslim, if you live in some other country, it doesn't matter. There's no need for exclusion. And there's no need for others to come on board. You can progress on your own, regardless of what everyone else does in the world. In fact, that's the point. You're here for a reason. This is it. And you don't need anyone to come on board. It helps if your friends and your relationships are united in this love of understanding. Love without understanding is terrible. It helps to have a community, which is why I'm doing this. And you can join the Discord to help me improve the channel. I'm still figuring it out as I go. And to meet other people and practice, midwife each other, share your insights. But you don't need other people, but it helps. It makes everything more fun.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
The true quest of man, upon which, as we said, if this is the formal structure of meditation for spirituality, it's also the paradigm for the human quest. So all books and games and stuff sort of take bits and pieces. So you might be familiar with the hero's journey that people use when they make stories or they make films and stuff. Joseph Campbell. But we read in chapter 1, Joseph Campbell actually met the author of this book. So that's really neat. You have this hero's journey. You've looked at all of these different cultures around the world, Joseph, and you've seen that there seems to be common elements within all of them. Oh, that sounds like division. You've looked at the mythological stories from different cultures around the world, and you see that there seems to be some common features, and you can put them in a circle called the hero's journey. Interesting. Go to the next step. Push the implications of that. Would there therefore be a true archetype beyond physical expressions, a true definition of the human quest? Just like you might say, hey, I've seen many examples of beautiful things. I saw a beautiful girl, I saw a beautiful puppy, a beautiful sunset, a beautiful painting. Hey, that's neat. Push the implications. Is there a feature that runs through all of it? Yes, beauty. What's beauty itself? Now you're in philosophy. Not beauty as an adjective, but beauty as a noun. That has to predate the adjectives to be the cause of the adjectives. Anyway, so Pierre presents this to Joseph Campbell, and he does what what Alan Watts did, and what these the Albert Ellis, who developed cognitive emotive behavioral therapy, so the models of psychology that we use today. What do they all do when challenged to move out of the physical world, push the implications of their discovery, and move from the loving of learning, philomathesis, to philosophy? They ran away. Which is interesting. That's chapter 1, by the way. It's interesting because challenging people to move out of their opinions based on the physical world to truth and understanding that's eternal is challenging as fuck. So even Alan Watts and Albert Ellis and L. Ron Hubbard and Joseph Campbell, they all ran. They ran their little asses away. Hopefully, because this channel is fun and all the cool people hang out here, you won't want to run. You want to stick with it and develop courage to reflect on your personal beliefs and opinions and to go beyond them to understanding, verify your understanding and experience, either in midwifery to be free of problems or in philosophy to actually experience the nature of eternity, and then to go beyond that to knowing the self. So don't run. What do you think the purpose of human life is? I think it's to reach enlightenment, which I believe is a state of unconditional love. Take those beliefs and turn them into questions. If it's a question, you're developing a way of being. If you're certain about it, it's a different way of being. Good questions. To carry a question is to be on a quest. For instance, what is enlightenment exactly? What is love exactly? Because there are things like tough love, where you beat up someone and you say, "Oh, I'm just teaching you love." That doesn't sound very loving. Oh, unless you grew up in that way. So what we're doing in midwifery is we're uncovering our ideas of love that we are getting from childhood that are wrong and block us. In relationships, we all have a different idea of love, and each person tries to force it on their partner, and that's why relationships are terrible usually. However, if you add understanding with love, you're not forcing your pathologos image from your parents when they were appearing their most loving when you were little. You're not forcing that on your partner. You can together share a single vision of discovering the true nature of love together through understanding. To do that, you have to uncover and free yourself from your false ideas of love. That's what we're doing here. Good question. The purpose of life? Well, if every single being necessarily gets a sick idea of love, and the only way of freeing yourself from that which binds you to your ignorance and your acting unjustly is to learn this, philosophical midwifery, then we could conclude we are here to master this. If you can only learn it here through time and space, and it's necessary for removing your problems, and all human beings get problems, and even if you've had enlightenment experiences, that's still not enough, because famously, many people have had many different kinds of or depths of enlightenment experiences, still have their problems. That's why we have archetypes in anime of the pervy sage, Hey, he's had different enlightenment experiences, maybe, yeah, sure. He's still got that sexual problem. Or the drunken master, same thing. In other words, the only way of freeing yourself from your problems, from your acting unjustly to yourself and others, is by mastering philosophical midwifery. Fortunately, you're also gaining other stuff as well, because it's this same structure or map of reasoned reflection called the dialectic that we also, once we're free of our problems, can apply to truth. That's philosophy. True philosophy that you can only do if you are reading the Balboa translation of Socrates. Why? Because Socrates was a master of this. And since Socrates, we've just been... after Socrates, we lost midwifery. So everyone after Socrates weren't able to address their problems. So they were blocked from really understanding the fullness of philosophy. Which is why all of the translators of the Platonic dialogues have been stupid bullshit. No, I'm being a bit harsh. All of the translators have not actually translated it properly. Why? Because your pathologos functions, A, to block your logos. So if Socrates is presenting the map of enlightenment, of spirituality, you can't follow that map unless you're getting rid of the blocks. But also, your pathologos causes your false interpretations. So all of these false interpretations in the translations, of course, happened because they're translators who weren't doing midwifery. Fortunately, we have a translator who was doing midwifery and learning true philosophy and studying Greek and was in a group that were all studying Greek and doing midwifery together. Juan Balboa.
What feminists want is to specifically ruin your life.
I don't know about that, but I'll think about it. Anyway, so on this channel, we read the Juan Balboa translations of Socrates' dialogues. We're reading the Meno at the moment. We're right at the end, so you come in at a good time, I guess. But yeah, so by the way, all of those things I said will be at best opinions that are correct, right opinions, because you're hearing it from me. You have to, it's not going to mean anything. It's just going to be like dumb advice. You're going to reject it if you don't already agree with it, or you're going to nod if you do already agree with it. The point is, we're learning to read these texts ourselves to gather those right opinions, but also in reading, we move from right opinions to understanding to see how and why those right opinions work. And we do that by applying the dialectic to those right opinions. And all of that progression from right opinion to understanding is to facilitate the direct experience, which we can call knowledge or wisdom. And the direct experience of the realm of being is enlightenment. That's what they call it. Now, and by the way, that experience of enlightenment, or that which is the cause of time and space, pure being, pure mind knowing itself completely, that's the beginning of philosophy. Because you come out of that experience and you want to understand it. Well, no, that's not fair. You don't. Okay, some people begin philosophy after having that experience. Some people are into philosophy because they love understanding and then they've gotten here. But the understanding can facilitate that experience. After you have that experience, that's not enough. As we said, you don't want to be pervy sage. You're going to understand that experience. So everything that you used to get to that experience through understanding in the dialectic, you can now use to make sense of even that experience. And then you can ask the same questions we ask here. What's the cause of even that? So there's one other level of enlightenment beyond this experience of pure bliss or pure knowingness or pure consciousness. A kind of clear state of enlightenment that's beyond even experience. That's called the One Self. not your image of yourself, the one self. Mind knowing itself completely, do you think that is possible without being out of control? Ooh, good question. Good question. So the question we would ask is, who is in control? If in that experience of mind knowing itself, and people have had that experience, people come out of it and you ask them questions. Well, what did you experience? Some people will say, I experienced pure beauty. Yes, that's one of the eidos. Now, one of the great betrayals of philosophy is we translate the Greek word eidos as form. Plato's forms. That's bullshit. That's a fucking lie. It's not a form. It's eidos means beholding. So the various aspects that you can intellectually distinguish of beholding are the eidos. So you might say, oh, I experienced pure beauty. We would say self-beauty. Beauty itself. Self-beauty. Someone might say, I experienced everything in the universe all at once and it was all perfectly ordered the way it should be. Ah, you experienced, my friend, self-justice. This reflection and understanding is philosophia, the love of wisdom. Wisdom is that experience with the understanding. That's philosophy. True philosophy. That's been buried for 1500 years. That we are reawakening on this channel. So what? One of the things that people recognize in that experience is, oh my God, it's me.
Wow. Wow.
It's me. The real me. The eternal me. And all of the other things that I identified with while going through my physical life from my childhood is not me at all. Ah. And then we can reflect on that. Okay, so it was a one. It was all at once a oneness. Now we say a oneness because in that recognition of yourself, there must be some intelligence to recognize itself. There must be some vitality or life to have that turning around and experience yourself. And it was real. So reality, vitality, life are all eidos, aspects of that experience that you might not recognize in the experience itself because it's all at once, but through time, this is an answer to your question, what's the purpose of being a human being? We get to reflect on it piece by piece through time to gain an understanding of that experience. You can only do it here. So, who's in control really? What you think you are, which you realize isn't really you, but a false image of yourself that you are identified with, has been the star in all of your dreams at nighttime. All of your random thoughts and tangents and your fantasies have starred a character that you think you are, but in this experience you realize that's not you at all. That's a distortion. It's an image that you can trace back to an origin scene from childhood. You had to believe this diminished view of yourself in order to save your false view of your parents as being self-beautiful, self-just. Our parents cosplay or pretend to be enlightenment, beautiful, caring, loving, knowing, and a certain scene when we were actually more in self than they were because they were also blocked. And because the pathologos, the false image of ourself, has us, we don't have it. Like a zombie virus, it controls us. It's like the ratatouille rat controlling us. The life of all human beings are to put themselves in a position where they can play out this cosplay of enlightenment, cosplay of knowing with impunity, get away with it. So some people become billionaires or become presidents or tyrants. But hey, that's not very rare. That's not very common. But you know what is common? Having a kid. When you've got a 3 or 4 year old kid that's completely dependent upon you for their survival, you get to play out your bullshit fucking opinions. This is what I think enlightenment is. This is what I think. I'm not having a go at you. Sorry. It's universal. All parents have that opportunity to cosplay the knower in front of their kids. Why? Because no one else gives a shit about your dumb opinions. No one gives a shit. You're forced to give a shit when you are in capitalism and you have to work for a petty tyrant boss. You have to pretend to care about your Elon Musk's opinions or your boss's, but you don't, because opinions are dumb. Understanding can be useful, but understanding, you don't have to pretend to be a knower. You don't put on an act. You go together, step by step, through the dialectic. So what? So that origin scene where our parents or parental surrogates cosplayed as enlightenment, because our soul is born seeking that, seeking truth, seeking beauty, seeking wisdom, that cosplay, that distortion is so powerful that we take the blame. Well, if they were acting that way, there must be something wrong with me. Because I was in self. I was pursuing my own goals. And I could never have imagined reacting that way, so there's something wrong with my thinking. So we get a diminished view of ourself, our mind, our goals, our reasoning. That's the cause of our problems. Because all of those things are the self-logos. All of this is the logos. The logos is the rational structure of the enlightenment experience, the fact that it can be understood in the ways that we're doing. The fact that that understandability is the cause of that being causing the physical world. So we have beautiful frogs and paintings and people and streamers. We follow the logos through the dialectic to develop. But we can't do that unless we also go back through time to find that origin scene where we picked up a false image of enlightenment that we weren't able to question, we didn't put words on, so we don't know that we're carrying it. That's the amnesia. We don't know we have it. We think it's just normal and real. That's why it's your universe. When I said, hey, how's your world? You don't live in the same world as everyone else. You live in one characterized by a certain level of projection and distortion from your origin scene. Everyone does. It's part of being a baby, like when you're like a little baby. So what? So we can, by being human, follow the logos, master it as an art. What does that mean? To have a certain level of a level of understanding of this process that you can benefit people, and art benefits the subject. So you can become a dialectician or a philosophical midwife yourself to do two things. Remove that which is false and recall or recover or remember that which is true. Removing what's false is philosophical midwifery. Recovering what's true is true philosophy that we can only get by reading the Balboa translation of Plato, which is cool. We don't have to read Kant, because fuck me. You tried reading Kant? It's so fucking terrible. It's fun. It's awesome. Plato writes amazingly well, and the translation is so much better than the bullshit translations of Plato. So finding what's true is philosophy, removing what's false is midwifery. You got to do both. You can't remove your problems if you're not seeking a meaningful goal, because your problems function to block your meaningful goals. So if you're not doing philosophy, you're not in the game. If you're like, yeah, I know what myself is. I don't have to learn it. Well, see ya. But we can say, well, actually, there are two other aspects, because your personal guide in those two processes is your dream master. So we can add dream analysis, which again is not interpretation. So it's not getting a dream interpretation book or going to a website or a BuzzFeed or Oprah's book club. No, it's learning to apply this same dialectic to unpacking the universe, the movie, the film from the greatest film director ever, the Dream Master. And that's your guide. It's also the model for art, because every dream benefits the subject. That's art. We just said it. So not only do we get the benefit from doing dream analysis, we get to learn what it would mean to be a master of art. But then, hey, we're doing these three things, but we have a profession, don't we? If you're not born into wealth, or you have other hobbies. So just as the Dream Master uses these two things to create his films that we call dreams, so too can you create films guided by this same dialectic, the same logos. So we can say that's called mythology. So the way that Socrates and Plato uses mythology, talking about the gods, they're just creating stories to talk about this. That's true mythology. Not like going to university and saying, we have these 400 stories about Zeus from 400 different authors. So studying all of that is understanding Zeus. That's crazy. Because everyone's going to have different opinions and different pathologos and they're using it for different reasons. True mythology is this, using it specifically to talk about either the aspects of being, the eidos, not forms, the movement to it through the dialectic, and what's beyond it, the oneself. And by the way, that's the Iliad and the Odyssey. That's mythology. If you are reading the Balboa translation of Homer, mythology, you are seeing the story of the worst possible person, Achilles, going through philosophical midwifery and dream analysis to free himself from his problems. This was well known back in the old days, before the Dark Ages, before the introduction of the church that said, hey, you know what I think about understanding? It's bad. Don't understand. If you're reading a book, we're going to kill you. Just believe our tyranny. But before that bullshit, we had an understanding of this. That's the Iliad, the story of Achilles, which is an example of mythology, which is our inheritance. It's our tradition. It's our golden age. It's what we're all here to rediscover. Did I answer your question? I hope not. I hope I've given you more material to reflect on and wonder about while carrying your question. Because the point is to get curious and have fun with questions and stuff, and take all of this stuff that I've been talking about with you as you read. And as you read, you're going to gather right opinions from either Socrates, from Homer, from your Dream Master, and from, in this book, Pierre Grimes. All masters of the logos. But then you have to turn those right opinions into understanding. That's what we're learning here. That's where we are in the text. We are getting the dialectical structure of the art of philosophical midwifery in the text so that we can organize all of the right opinions we have about philosophical midwifery we have so far from chapters 1, 2, and 3. Sound fun? Let me just check something. Real quick. Not that. So hopefully my practice in doing this and sharing it, you got to do both, as such that, okay, just checking something. No, we're good. We can keep going. Is such that hopefully my answers to your questions have followed a dialectical structure innately because I've been practicing it. In other words, I hope I gave a definition about these things, about what we're here for, about our purpose. I hope I've given a demonstration of how that would function. Definition, master the art of the dialectic. Demonstration, philosophy, midwifery, dream analysis, and mythology. Division, here's Homer. Here's Socrates. Here's Juan Balboa, the translator of the Platonic dialogues. Here's Pierre Grimes, the author of Midwifery. Here is the implications if we follow it. Enlightenment, doing your job, escaping the chains of suffering and the prison of reincarnation. Here is the implications if we don't follow it. Injustice, Trump, Putin, Hitler, fascism, capitalism, wealth inequality, subjugation and enslavement of humanity, genocide. What we are playing out now is the implications of not doing that. So division has two. Either what follows and examples of it doing it and what follows if you don't, to show the absurdities of what happens without it, or to show the beauty and the necessity of what happens with it. And from that division, we can come to a conclusion. So from everything we've talked about, can you yourself pull out of this conversation something that unifies all of these parts, or the most important thing of those parts, or the most causal thing of all those parts? Or a repeating theme that goes through all the parts? It's up to you. You can pick any of those. That's synthesis, and you can take that synthesis back to that definition that probably didn't make sense if I just said, hey, what are you here for? Master the art of the dialectic. You can only do it here, and you have to do it here. Otherwise, problems. And if you do it here, enlightenment. So you can, that taking your synthesis back to the beginning is analysis, which is the second part of the last stage. And so now you have a new definition, mastering the art of the logos with this new understanding. So you've turned around and you've ended up in a better place than when you started. But hey, you've got a new definition. You can use that definition to do a dialectic again. Oh, I've taken this synthesis. I have this new definition to master the art of the dialectic to solve human problems and gain enlightenment. Oh, but I can do a dialectic on that. What does that mean? Enlightenment or solving problems. I'll give do this. So you do it again. You'll end up with a new definition. So you're going like this, up and up and up and up and up and up and up. That's the learning of following the analogy, A is to B is B is to C. You can grow, you improve, and the pathologos is the distortion of that. A is to B as A is to B. You don't progress. You start certain, I know what the self is, says my mummy and daddy. Everyone. Not just me. Have they ever changed their mind? Fuck no. So they'll treat their kids that way, cause their kids problems, and then they'll do it again, and they'll get a job, and they'll do it to their employees, and they'll pass it on to their kids. They're not going up. It's the stagnation. So the pathologos is the stagnation, or the, what do you call it? Distortion, stagnation, redundant analogy. A is to B as A is to B. That's, you're just repeating yourself. Whereas this, you cycle up, so you grow, but also everything you learn, you can pass on to someone else. So Pierre teaches us in this book, and then we can teach someone else, our partner or our friend or class. Or you create an awesome anime in which you share it. It seems like you're saying that your path is the only path, not my path. That's individual. This is rationality. Rationality is open to everyone. So when you're talking about personal opinions, you're talking about individuals. This is true for everyone. That's what we're reading. That's why it can be an art. It's like going to a doctor and saying, hey, my arm's broken. Okay, well, we've got to find where it's broken and we've got to put it in a cask and, you can take these painkillers. Well, that's just your opinion. You'll get laughed at. No, it's not my opinion. It's medicine. It's just the model for healing a broken arm. Now, this is a trick. There are grifters and con artists who don't go through the work of learning the model. They don't let go of their ignorance from childhood. And they'll say, well, it's my opinion that I don't have to have a doctorate to become a doctor because I read the Bible. And it's my opinion that I know medicine. If they ever act on that, they get sent to prison because that's malpractice. Would you let someone with a hammer saying, it's my opinion that I'm a dentist, would you let them hammer at your daughter's face? Of course not. That's insane. Same thing with flying a plane. It's my opinion that Jesus is going to fly the plane. No, get the fuck out of here. There is an understanding of how to fly the plane. It's not your understanding. It's just understanding. Now, that division into personal opinions is what we're moving out of through learning. If you want to be a vet and you come into veterinary college thinking, well, I think that cats and dogs marry each other and that's where you get kittens and puppies. You're going to have to do two things. You're going to have to learn the truth, which is made public. It's not personal. Anyone can do it. The first year vet students last year learnt the same things, and it's repeatable. The teacher doesn't have to pretend to be a knower. It's not his opinions or it's not faith, it's not belief. But you also have to, at the same time, let go of that opinion that dogs and cats marry each other, because you can't simultaneously hold that and hold the truth. You have to pick one, always. So what we're doing in philosophy is learning, understanding itself, learning that method of learning, applying it to what's personally meaningful, your highest goals, your understanding of self and reality. And you can only do that if you're at the same time jettisoning, throwing off the boat everything that's false, that gets in the way. So what we're doing here in philosophical midwifery is discovering what we're carrying that's false about understanding. Hey, it's all just personal opinions, bro. You're discovering that. It's a very common belief in our culture. It's called, it's all relative. Everything is relative to opinions, right? Everything is relative to a perspective. It's my perspective that women are less than men. And that's just as true as, no, it's not. That's fucking sexism. You can't function in an artful way, in a truly beneficial way, if you are carrying that false opinion, personal opinion, that women are less than men. You can't. You have to pick one. Are you going to be a sexist asshole who lives a miserable life that no one's going to care about? Even the Nazis that love that shit. They're going to turn on you one day because they're all idiots too. Or are you going to let go of sexism and blind loyalty to personal opinions and actually learn to understand something? Because if you can use that understanding to actually do things in the world, build a computer, reach enlightenment, help others remove their human problems, heal a sick puppy and kitten. So you're saying that rationalizing through problems is necessary. Very well said. I can agree with that. Yeah. I think there are many paths to enlightenment. Well, many people have lots of opinions. The good thing about understanding is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your opinions are. We're not in the realm of opinions. But we're human beings. Now, it's easy to say, well, of course, computer programming, there has to be a logical code and it has to be step by step. And there has to be a paradigm for how to program a Mac, and it's different from how to program a PC. Of course, but we're not computers. It's hard for us to accept that because we love our personal opinions. And there's a certain class of personal opinions that we even identify with. People don't say, I think the Christian beliefs accurately explain dinosaurs. No, they don't say that. They say, I am a Christian. I am a Jew. I am a Muslim. That's insane. That's fucked. You're not a belief. That's stupid. You get it from childhood, obviously. Jewish parents have Jewish babies. It's not a coincidence. So what we're doing here is looking at that class of beliefs that we are not able to let go of when we see it's false. In fact, it specifically functions to blind us from any evidence or reason that shows that we're wrong. So have you ever tried talking to a Christian about pick one. How can Noah have all of the animals on the planet on one ark? That's insane. What are they going to eat? They eat each other. That's insane. Have you ever tried that? They get pissed. They get defensive. They get aggressive. Because you're asking them to relate to reason and evidence they can't perceive. Because there's a class of belief called a pathologos that blocks you from perceiving that. That's why it's a block. If it didn't block you from new evidence and reason, it would be a shitty block. It wouldn't be a block. It'd just be something like a prejudice. Prejudices change. You grow up in a racist family in a small town, go to college, oh my God. Everyone's the same. My parents are just small-minded idiots. That happens every single day. It's a prejudice. There's a class of belief worse than that you do identify with, that can't be addressed with reason and evidence because it specifically functions to block you from it. So we call it a block or a pathologos block. That's the one people get irritated at. So you go to veterinary college and you say, and the teacher goes, well, actually, dogs and cats don't marry each other. That's not that's not how sex works. And they're the ones that stand up and go, how dare you? You're insulting me. What they're really saying is, not insulting me, you're insulting my mummy and daddy, and I am too immature to reflect on the functioning of my parents, that I want to pretend, fucking lie to myself, that they were loving and caring every single moment. They weren't. Because they don't know what love is. They don't know what caring is. They're just imitating the image that their parents did to them. That's where we are as humans right now. That's the barbarian age. We are savages. Blind loyalty to whoever we grew up with, just because we grew up with them, is fucking stupid. That's why they called the Nazis dogs. Not because dogs are wonderful creatures, and they are. Because dogs are blindly loyal to whoever their owner is. They're blindly loyal to fucking Hitler without judging Hitler. We are the same to our parents. And we need, not always, but there are certain things that will trigger us. Our job is to go out and pursue our most meaningful goals. Become a vet. Become not just a vet, the best vet you can be. In doing so, you will find those moments that trigger you and block you from being able to reach your most meaningful goals. That's what we're after. Not to punish people or make people feel bad about themselves. To collect evidence. To collect nuggets that you can piece together to solve the puzzle we're here to solve. You can only be in this game if A, you've gotten rid of any punishment. There's no blame here and there's no punishment here. That's stupid. That's barbaric. Because we will all have problems. We need to look for problems. We need to put ourselves in a situation where problems come up. We need to have courage to get out of our comfort zone. Oh, but there's no problems if I sit quietly and I agree with, and I go to church on Sunday and I never leave the house and I never leave my small town. No, you're not going to surface your problems. You're going to live a mediocre life at best, and you're going to have problems after this life. And you're not going to remove your problems. You're not going to do what you're here for, and you're going to have problems where you go beyond that. We need to step out. We need to have courage to seek our most meaningful goals with excellence. And it will surface blocks. That's the whole point. Otherwise, why would we start from where we are here? If everything is caused by a higher unity or oneness that people experience through enlightenment, then why the fuck are we here? To forget it just to relearn it? Exactly. So we're looking for, let me remove this spam and delete it. Okay, delete it here. So, in this community, and please excuse my forthrightness, but it's not a personal attack or anything. I'm just telling the truth directly. I made that point earlier today. The previous generations were more subtle with it, and well, maybe have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? But we don't have time for that anymore. We don't have time. Too many genocides, too many nuclear weapons to not tell the truth about the cause of our inability to address problems and our inability to relate to reason and evidence, the pathologos, the most powerful force on this universe. But if you do, life's fun. Because every single problem you have is just more material for you to solve the puzzle you're here to solve. And then as you solve it, you learn the art of midwifery, because that's the method of solving it. But then that's not it. You have to test it. Not an opinion or a belief. It has to be knowledge. You have to know it by experiencing it. Which means not only are you solving the puzzle you're here to solve, your problem, but you're reaching the most meaningful experiences and goals that you've had. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
That's the game. So what? Well, if that's the case, let's find the stages or steps involved in that art of addressing problems so that we can solve our puzzle and free ourselves from the chains of suffering to become free. That's a level of enlightenment. To see reality as it is, free of interpretations and distortion. It's also the preconditions for the other kinds of enlightenment. The high states, the bliss states, the wisdom states. And then when we have both, we can ask the question, well, actually, which is the higher one? And that's a fun conversation to have. We'll have that later on. Yeah. If you had a choice between that level of enlightenment and the other level of enlightenment, which would you pick and why? That's a fun thing to talk about. But maybe we'll put a pin in that for a little bit later on. But good questions. Thank you for joining me. Yeah. And if you want to play the game, you can join the Discord. And you can make suggestions for how to improve the channel, or you get a notification if we go live. You can meet other people who are also in this game to practice the dialectic to practice the dialectic in philosophy or practice the dialectic in midwifery. And to practice the dialectic in midwifery, we better figure out what are the stages. That's what we're doing here. The stages. And speaking of stages, I have to go to stage 2 in my house, the stage where my bathroom is. So I have to take a piss. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm back. Oh, and by the way, I'm not discounting the fact that there are various different techniques or methods to induce or to stumble upon or to have, if you're lucky, different experiences, higher experiences. Of course, meditation, breath work, displays of energy, moments of quietude, psychedelics, lots of different things that may, if you're lucky, this trigger a higher experience or a higher level of a higher cognitive function or experience of higher dimensions of reality. That's fine. But you want to nail it down. We're reading the Meno, and Meno says, by the way, people who get into it that way, that's divine dispensation or divine inspiration, like the oracles or the preachers. See those preachers in those big mega churches? They get a Bible in front of them, and all of a sudden they're experts in finances. This is how you should spend your money to get wealthy. And they're experts in relationships. Oh my God, praise Jesus. I can tell you about how to do your relationships. They haven't had any training in understanding true relationships, the true nature of healthy relationships. They don't have any training in finances. Sounds like they can talk for a long time. Divine inspiration. Now, and there might be moments in that divinely inspired state, inspiring other people who are praise Jesus or praise Allah or praise Muhammad or whatever they're doing to get into the spirit of things. There might be 1 or 2 moments where they'll say something true. They'll hit a right opinion. Will they recognize the right opinions for the false ones? Hey, by the way, the mind is so powerful that for every experience of the stages of enlightenment, if you want a general map, you can look at the 10 ox herding pictures. Check that out if you're curious. For each stage of those ox herding pictures or levels of enlightenment, the mind is so powerful to give you a fake one too. Formerly, the job of the guru is to be able to distinguish the two. Is this a real stage or is this a wind egg, to use Socrates' term? Is it a fake one? So what's needed to be able to judge? By the way, you don't want your experiences to be one-off. You want to go into it often and in greater depth. So you got more material to reflect on. What's the difference? What's the difference between mastery and divine inspiration or providence? If that's the case, and wouldn't we say, well, okay, so Buddhists can have this experience sometimes if they're lucky, and Taoists this experience, and oh, I know that preacher who goes to that mega church at the end of my block, yeah, he sometimes talks about blah, 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 blah. There's a whole litany of people who get into different states, seem to think their opinions are right, and maybe once or twice or every now and again they'll hit something accurate. If that's the case, wouldn't we say that there should be a study or some field or subject that addresses that? Addresses what? Addresses, put it on the board. My pen. Shouldn't there therefore be a study of Shouldn't there be a study of having intellectual knowledge of a thing and actually experiencing a thing is different? Right. So intellectual knowledge isn't knowledge the way we're saying. Knowledge, what we mean by knowledge is experience. So you can have an understanding of how to ride a bike. But do you know how to ride a bike unless you've been there? Equally so, you can have this or that experience of this or that state. Like someone will take acid at a festival, maybe have this state, then go right back down to it. Talk to them in a week, see where they are. Is that knowledge? Or you can develop an understanding of something, like we're developing in philosophy an understanding of being, or in the symposium we understand it as beauty itself. But hey, if you hear that there is an experience of pure bliss or beauty itself, don't you want to go there? Don't you want to go to the party? It's fine to hear about that there is a party and it's a rager, but don't you want to go? So you're right, you have to experience it too. That's part of it. Not the end of it, by the way. Otherwise, every ketamine addict or acid head at a festival is a guru. That's insane. Equally so, having an understanding of philosophy isn't the same as applying it at all times, trying for excellence in a way that facilitates the actual experience. You're right, experience is different from understanding. By the way, what would be the benefit of going through understanding to that experience, rather than just taking a pill? Which would be better? So if there are different, let's put this on the board. So if people can have various different states of mind, or what you're talking about, experiences, states of mind, like maybe somebody has had, like you have like people who have like depressed states of mind right down the bottom, nihilists, depressed, lonely states of mind. Then we have like regular states of mind. Then we have happy states of mind. Then we might have insights as well. That's a state of mind. Then we might have more profound insights. Oh, and then we might have experiences of the realm of being, the non-physical world, what some people call enlightenment. That's pretty deep. Even better. But then you might go into that enlightenment experience, or the experience of mind knowing itself as the brilliant light of pure being. You might go into that in greater depth. Maybe the first time you experienced it as beauty itself, then the next time you did some reflection on that experience, and maybe you're reading some Plato and you think, well, actually, can it really be beauty if it wasn't also just? And maybe you have some friends from this community that ask you a question. Hey, you see a beautiful girl? Oh, yeah, hot, really hot girl over there. And then you find out that she's a sociopath. Uh-oh. What does that mean? So this is philosophy, metaphysics. Metaphysics is that level here. So we'll draw a line here. So we have the physical world below this line. And then we have the metaphysical, or the realm of, so we could say metaphysical just means beyond physical. So we'll say the physical world, or the spiritual, because it's the spirit that experiences it. So we'll say the spiritual dimension. Another way of talking about it is the realm of becoming, because everything in the physical world is coming into existence or decaying. It's always in change. Whereas this realm is the realm of pure being. So being. The study of this is philosophy. The study of this is what people call philosophy nowadays. That's the corruption, the great betrayal. Okay, this is where opinions lie. Opinions based on physical senses. So we can say the realm of opinions. Whereas here can be object of knowledge. You have knowledge about it. Capital N. So I used knowing how to ride a bike before, but that's just an analogy. Capital N. So we can call this kind of knowledge that we need another word because we need to distinguish it specifically. The word is nous. The ability of mind to turn around and experience itself outside of time and space. That's nous. Okay. But then, go into it in greater depth. Is experiencing it as the word eidos is the different levels. So eidos, or we might say ideas with a capital. No, let's not use the word ideas. Eidos. This is translated badly as forms. That's what we have to get rid of. That's one of the great betrayals. It's not a form. Doesn't matter what your teacher told you at school. And there are different levels of that. Greater depth. Maybe greater integration of that experience. Let's move the word eidos down here. And put it in different color. And let's make a bit more space. But then hang on a second. If that's philosophy, and Socrates says philosophy is the first to even be curious about that, to progress through here, is the philomathesis. This is from the Phaedo. We read the Phaedo recently, and you can check out the YouTube videos if you want to check that out and read along with us. Philomathesis, or the love of learning. Hey, if you're not loving learning, you're going to stay stuck wherever you are. You'll be a nihilist for life. You'll be a Catholic for life, or whatever. But then this progression through here is the love of wisdom. Philosophia. Sophia is the Greek word for wisdom. That's why we give it a capital K. But hey, that's not the end. Because Socrates in the Phaedo said, hey, by the way, that's great. And this is what we practice every day. We practice philosophy every day. But have you ever wondered that experience you had of pure being? If everything has a cause, this stuffy has a cause, this pen has a cause, wouldn't even that experience of pure being or pure justice or pure beauty, there's the eidos, pure sameness, pure wholeness, these are the selfers, by the way. So we say self-beauty or self-justice, the selfers. Self is honorific. It's like master or Daniel Sun. It's like the sun part. Self-beauty. Not beauty here as an adjective, but beauty as a noun. So we should put this up here so it's not mistaken in the bottom. Self-as. Shouldn't there also be a cause of that? Or another question you might ask is, hey, who's having that? What is having that experience of pure beauty or pure justice or eternity or everything all at once? Socrates calls that philophronesis. And while this is the realm of becoming, this is the realm of being, up here is the realm of the self, or the one self. In the Parmenides, or the good self. Because you say, hey, by the way, beauty itself, justice itself, division. What do we do with divisions? Is there something that runs through all of them? There was something that runs through a beautiful dog and a beautiful woman and a beautiful painting that led us through philomethesis to ask the question, to reflect on causes. That's learning. What's the cause of these beautiful things? There must be beautiful itself. What else are we interested in as humans? Justice? Do we care about justice and equality? Damn fucking right we do. So if there is a just person or a just football game, a just society, a just way of addressing our parents to address the injustice of our origin scene, then we could ask the question, what is justice itself? So we've got beauty itself, justice itself. Hang on a second, same question. If they're all selves, what is the self itself? That's the progression into philophrenesis. So I need purple. So what? What we're saying is, hang on a second, I've been around the block once or twice. I've been to an ashram or two. I've done a meditation retreat here or there. I've been to this or that men's group. I've even subscribed to this or that personal development course. I was into Tony Robbins at one stage. How can there be a manyness? How can there be a manyness of learnings? How can there be a manyness of spiritual yogas or spiritual methods or spiritual meditations? Same issue. If there is a many, in order to learn to be rational and mature, we have to move from the many to the one. Many to the one. This is the fundamental issue of everything. There is a manyness of beauty. What's beauty itself? There are manyness of selfers. What's the self itself? That's the game. If that's the case, then shouldn't there be a study of, of all of these spiritual traditions? So we can rank them? Oh, there are some ways of thinking like nihilism that are right down the bottom. Then there's materialism. Okay, something does exist, but it's just the physical world. There's no spirit or soul or consciousness. And then there's a different one. Well, there is consciousness, but we can't know it. Like my priest said, you can only know it when you die. And okay, there is a higher consciousness, but the best we can do is come together as a group and sing Kumbaya to Jesus or Kumbaya to Joseph Smith or whoever. That's the best we can get. And then there are people who've crossed this threshold in whatever way. Through understanding it's necessary and going through the dialectic and having that experience by applying the dialectic in midwifery or philosophy. You can have it in dreams. We do dream analysis too. And all the other different things we said, dance, sport, psychedelics, breathwork, moments of quietude, childbirth. And they only experience it here. And then someone who goes into it deeper, and then deeper, and then deeper, and then realizes that there is a logos or an intelligibility beyond the whole thing, and they can take that with them to the next level. So what? So we should, if that's the case, and of course there are Buddhists and there are Taoists and there are Krishnas and there are all sorts out there, right? There are materialists, there are nihilists. So what? That means that there should be formally some sort of study that's at the top of the list. Not because my mummy and daddy told me and I love them, so I'm going to be a Nazi and be blindly loyal to my leader, but because it's mature and rational. That's what we're doing. This is becoming mature and rational. Humanity is at a level of development where we are barbarians. We are blindly loyal to cave leaders. That's why you get people like Trump. And then all of these poor people who Trump is specifically scamming or deporting to prison labor camps in El Salvador and Guantanamo Bay, concentration camps, who vote for Trump. That's fucking insane. It's not insane if you understand the nature of humans at their level of development. What does that mean? How do you understand the levels of human development? Well, you would have, not what, on one side of the ladder, levels of understanding. What's your level of understanding? Some people are ignorant, some people are prejudiced, some people have terrible beliefs, some people have absurd beliefs, supernatural beliefs, beliefs you can't prove. Like Noah's Ark and Mary was a virgin, you can't prove that. And you have simple beliefs, you believe that your car needs petrol. Scientific beliefs, proven by evidence, and so on and so on. And then of course we have higher levels of understanding, that's the logos and dialectic applied to being, that's philosophy. Then we have even beyond that. So you should be able to judge fairly and rationally all the levels of understanding. But as our chatter said today, understanding isn't just enough. It's no good just hearing about a party if you can't go to the party yourself. So understanding, and what do we as human beings experience understanding through? Our states of mind. States of mind. Therefore, there is a progression that we need to be able to recognize and understand, to judge ourselves and our friends. And if you're ever in a position of leadership, you need to be able to do this. You're not going to be a very good vet if you say, I'm going to kill all the elephants because I think giraffes are better. That's terrible. I'm going to kill all the Jews because, or I'm going to kill all the Palestinians because I think Jews are better. That's fucked. We want to be able to understand all of them. Every human being, no matter where you are or when you are, whether you're 1 billion years in the future, 1 trillion light years away, or whatever level of reincarnation you're on. So this is a kind of learning you can take with you beyond this planet, beyond this physical existence. Therefore, it's a kind of learning that is rational. Because if we were to think that life's about learning how to make money, you're going to think you're going to take that with you in 80 years after you die, or in 10 years, or whenever you're going to die? What a waste of time. And it might have implications on your soul and where you go after if you spend your life trying to manipulate people for the big bucks. Elon. So it's what are we here for? What's our purpose? It has to be a kind of education and learning, or what Socrates calls what does he call it? Learning and nurture and he has a cool way of saying it. It's something in nurture. Yeah. It's a kind of learning and nurturing of your soul Because, again, you're learning here, but you're also training it into your way of being over here. You're doing both. So we can say it's a kind of a... This is a kind of a learning and nurturing, says Socrates in the Phaedo. Again, you can check it out on YouTube. Nurture, link below, of our soul that is rational and mature. Rational because it's the only kind of learning and nurture that you can take with you. Therefore, it's mature. Hey, you're in this video game. Don't you want to know what the goal is? Don't you want to know how to level up? To ignore where we came from, where we are going, and what we should be doing here is immature. So the kind of rational and mature learning and M-A-T-U-R-E, learning and nurture of mastering this ladder. Understanding and states of mind. Isn't that neat? Don't have to pick favorites? Well, I really like being a Hare Krishna, and we're better. Well, I really like Taoism. Well, let's do a war to see who wins. Right, Netanyahu? Right, Catholics in your crusades? How about fuck off and grow up? How about become rational and mature? How about stop picking favorites like a fucking Nazi and understand all of the levels of understanding you can go through and all of the states of mind that accompany it? So you can be a good person. You can meet a nihilist here and say, hey, I know how you're feeling. Or rather, I don't have to know how you're feeling. I can ask you questions. I don't have to play a Noah. Ask you questions using my mastery of this ladder about what you understand. Hey, there's nothing meaningful. There's no reality beyond this. And even this physical world, we're like the Matrix. Of course, there is a kind of logic to that. So what are you going to do? Oh yeah, thanks for stopping in. You want to be able to rationally address him fairly by asking him questions that bring a body of data for himself. You don't have to pretend that you know everything. Body of data, or pretend you have all the answers, or you know what's right, or my opinions are the right opinions, all that shit. Ask them questions to surface their understanding, which will help them make sense of their state of mind, feeling lonely, feeling isolated, feeling depressed. Here's one I'll give you for free. You meet a nihilist. Nothing exists. Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Oh, and by the way, are we talking? Are we understanding each other? Well, we're different from each other, right? I mean, to be there's something other than me, and there's something other than you for us to have a conversation. So at least that exists. This is the significance of this ladder. This is the significance of no longer playing favorites. This is the significance of understanding the whole thing, your own self. This is all self. You have the capacity to have all these experiences and understandings along with the states of mind. Why? There are some states of development, like nihilism, that requires another person to help you out. A nihilist can be a nihilist his whole life, but then maybe another person enters his life. He's fortunate enough to come across someone like you. If you're in this channel and you've been here for long enough, it can be you. Another person who relates to them without blame or punishment, like everyone else in the world, because blame and punishment is the violence. Punishment is the justification for violence. And if you're at the level of opinions, there's no truth and understanding. How can you say my opinions are the right opinions? You can't unless you kill everyone else. That's why we're on the verge of extinction. The Crusades, the genocide against the Palestinians right now. The genocide against, the KKK lynchings happening in America right now under Trump's pathologos. Trump's dad was a KKK guy. It ends up with everyone dead. You can't force opinions because opinions aren't true. Opinions are right down the bottom. Remember the letter over here? To be mature is to move from opinions through what's all this? What's the same? Understanding. And we understand that as the logos and dialectic. So what? So we have philomathesis, the love of learning, that can get you to reflect on even your beliefs and opinions. Starting point. Not everyone is there yet. There are a lot of people who are Nazis, a lot of people who are blindly loyal, there are a lot of people who stay stuck, stay comfortable. They have a loser mentality of losers and never reach out of their comfort zone to say they want to stay safe. Therefore, the love of learning is a development. You're doing good just to be here, to be in chat, to ask these questions. Genuinely ask. And if you have objections, well, I think this. Well, what about this? What about that? What about this? And to stay here while they're addressed. You could run away like Alan Watts ran away, like Albert Ellis ran away, like Joseph Campbell ran away. These are heavy hitters in spirituality, in psychology, in mythology. Literally, you learn Albert Ellis' stuff at psychology at college. Alan Watts is one of the earliest champions of Eastern spirituality in the West. Joseph Campbell wrote the handbook for Hollywood. They all ran. If you're here, you haven't run. You're doing better. So, hooray for you. What? We want cheering.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
Not relevant. Not relevant, Emma. How do you learn? Understanding. How do you progress through spiritual levels? Understanding. What takes you up there? Therefore, we can say all of this. Understanding. Need a different color because we're already using green. Let's fix the let's fix this a little bit. Let's get rid of that and that. And use what color? What color? What color? This one. So, hey, all of these. Understand. Understanding. You mean understanding the physical world? Kind of. I mean, to become a scientist, you have to let go of prejudices that are disproven by evidence and reason. Maybe even your pathologos, if you grew up in a culture that says, hey, don't think, thinking is the devil, just have faith. That would have to, you'd have to address your pathologos. I'm a Catholic and I'm a Catholic scientist, Christian scientist. All my evidence comes from the Bible only. Well, that's not just a prejudice. You are identified with that belief, meaning you have to do midwifery. To go through the philomathesis, love of learning. Philosophy, the study of being. You had an experience. Was it meaningful? You want to get back there? Let's understand it. It's the most meaningful thing you've ever experienced, the most real thing you've ever experienced, the most profound thing. Well, don't you want to understand it? Philosophy. That's why we read Socrates. We do dream analysis to guide. Hey, by the way, do you want to go beyond being to know what is the self having that experience? Philophronesis. Which is the essence of virtue that we were playing with and puzzling about together in the Meno. Because this is rememberable. This is pure being. You can learn this. That's philosophy. That's true education. Can you learn that which is beyond experience? How can you remember something that's not an experience? It's the haver of experience. That's the puzzle of the Meno that we're reading together. And there's a link below. Or if you're watching this at a date where we have gone beyond the Meno, we're reading something else, you type in Balboa Meno and you'll find a free copy on the archive. And we raise our glasses in honor of Juan Balboa and the work he had to do to address his pathologos in midwifery and the work he had to go through in philosophy to be able to translate it. He had to address his stuff. And by the way, he did it without a Balboa translation because he was the guy who made he's Balboa. He's Juan Balboa. So we raise our cups to him and give him a cheer. So what? Understanding. By the way, you understand music. Don't you want to recognize that it's that the octave and the perfect fifth and the perfect fourth follow certain mean analogies in frequency? Don't you want to recognize what's the cause of that? That's the dialectic. So whatever you're doing, if it's understanding, you are looking for the logos and the dialectic. Because that's the unfolding principle of everything, and it's also what we go through to return. So what? So we want someone with that understanding and the dialectical structure to use it in conversation to meet this guy. Whoops. Okay, let's... can I undo? I can. To meet this fellow, meet this sorry guy, down the bottom, the nihilist, and say, hey, I have an understanding of, well, you wouldn't say it. You don't have to appear like a knower. You can just use your understanding of the logos and the dialectic to throw him some questions. Another person is needed to help. Another person is needed to help. Could we have done this without Pierre? No. Could we have done this without Socrates? No. Could we have read Socrates without Juan? No. Another person is needed. Whoops. Okay. Redo. There we go. Another person is needed. Needed to help the person here. The person, well, some levels you don't. Some levels you can progress through yourself, but there are certain stages where you do need the influence of another person to help, to ask the questions that provide a body of data that they can themselves reflect on, to understand their own level of understanding and make sense of their states of mind, to see the necessity of that level. It's not blame. Of course, they're a nihilist. Given the conditions of their life up until now, of course they are. And necessarily so, because there's a reason for being here. There's a reason why that you're born into a family that teaches you nihilism. When you see the intelligibility or the understandability of your level, and you see the necessity of it, you can become free of it and get out of that nihilist box. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're reading. It's pretty neat. Because if we have any sort of rulership or leadership over other human beings, we want to be using this to actually help them. Not to extract fucking profit from them like a landlord or fucking mini Nazi because you own a business. No. To actually benefit the people under your leadership. Whether you're a doctor or a dentist or anything. Benefit. Really benefit. Not forcing them. You're using your understanding, your logos and dialectic, whatever level you're at. Because hey, maybe you've never had an experience in this lifetime of being. In dreams or in everyday world. However. But you love understanding, and maybe you're here. You can still talk to someone here and help them out. Wherever you're at, you can always have an opportunity to practice or put into experience what you're learning.
Well, you're doing your best. Okay, so sorry, Ben. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah. What we're saying is, so someone said, well, aren't there many different methods or any bit? Well, how many different understandings are there? You could say, well, every level has its own level of understanding. Okay, well, fair enough. That's true in one sense. Every level has its own level of understanding. There's a kind of rationality. Like someone who's not a nihilist but believes that materialist, there's just the physical world. Makes sense that. Maybe they've never had an experience of being, and everyone they've spoken to about being is an idiot or is crazy. Or maybe they've never met a person like this who has treated them with integrity and fairness and rationality and maturity. Someone who's not here to debate them. Someone who's not there to push their own personal opinions. Someone who's not there to pretend to be a knower for their own ego or their own pathologos. Sometimes that's rare in people's lives. They've never met someone to talk to them in this way. And for some people, that's all they need. Someone to address them without any hint of punishment. And spits at the idea of hurting another person. And at the idea that they can somehow be made better through hurting them. Punishment. Fuck off. That's just violence. That's just marketing for violence. And violence is just used for oppression and destruction. They meet someone like that, maybe that's enough to turn them around, take them out from wherever they're at. That's art. That's mastery. To be able to use your understanding to benefit. That's mastery. That's what we're learning. What we need. That's what we need. So are there different levels of understanding? Kind of. Different levels of logic, you could say. Are there different levels of enlightenment? Taoist, Buddhist, Hindu, all that sort of stuff? Yeah, sure. Understanding is to be able to hierarchically rank them according to an order that's true. Hey, someone with cancer. Are we going to pretend? We're going to play pretend? Well, a cancer body is just as healthy as a healthy body. Yes, Usain Bolt is just as healthy as my grandma. What? We're going to lie? We're going to keep lying? Oh, yes, religions are just as good as scientific belief. What? I know the previous generation lied to be polite. Oh, yes, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Every religion is just as true as every fucking shit. No. Doesn't work anymore. because the religious fundamentalists are genociding people, are blowing up our fucking planet, are keeping everyone enslaved under capitalism. We can't lie anymore. You're not helping anyone by lying. Now we need to take that ethos, that mentality, that spirit to addressing our parents, lying about mummy and daddy being all wise and all knowing, being God priests, priest kings of our house. It's fucked. You're not helping them, and you're not helping yourself, and you're not helping the world. Imagine if Trump came home every day and his son said to him, "What are you doing? What are you doing with these KKK raids? What are you doing with stealing all this wealth? What are you doing with taking away child lunches? What are you doing with taking away Meals for Wheels?" That's unjust. Trump's son might be the only fucking person on this planet who he will listen to. Do we want him to pretend to be nice to mummy? No, we don't. We want Trump's son to be rational and mature, to wake up. We want everyone in his family to. Every MAGA person to. Every American to. Everyone on our planet to. That's what it means to help. That's what it means to do good. That's what it means to benefit, and that's what it means to have an art. Interesting? I think so. What do you think, Arun?
That's where you live, in the weirdo pool. You're going around doing that in the weirdo pool. That's you.
Me? Me? Arun.
What feminists want is to specifically ruin your life.
I don't think that's true, Emma.
Talking about a bunch of slop.
Exactly. You're talking about a bunch of slop, Emma. And your oracle. So, if that's what an art is, if that's what we're here for, necessarily, if that's what helps, if that's what's empathetic and caring, what are we going to call that art? We've got a bunch of names from our reading of Socrates. Again, most of these words are Greek words, ancient Greek words, because we don't have the English words for it. You can't play the game unless you have the words, of course. Famously, how can you talk about the beautiful unless you have the word the? There are some cultures that don't have the word the, so they can never do philosophy, which is a problem. Put it in. There are some cultures that can never do ousia or recognize the levels of ousia because they don't have a word, so we're putting it in. There are some people who don't know the nature of nous. They don't recognize, they think knowing is something to do with the physical world, so we got to bring in the word nous. There are some people who think that that Socrates is talking about forms. Form sounds physical. We need the word eidos. Some people who don't know that there's a level beyond even being, so we need the word phronesis. So what word are we going to give to this art that we're all here to learn and master? We must necessarily learn and master, and if we ever want to be a good person, a virtuous person who can help others and ourselves, both in this life and beyond, both in this planet and any planet, both at this time and any time, wherever we are, whenever we are, and whatever we are, what name are we going to give to that art? So what have we done? We started with a question from our chatter. We gave a definition. That could have been enough. We have another chatter here today, and he's been around long enough that certain questions I can just give a definition, and he's, oh yeah, I know that, I'm familiar with that, I get it. And we can move on, we can take the next step. But this chatter's new. And thank you very much for joining, and thank you for sharing your words. Very, very important. Definition wasn't enough. I don't think that. I'm not familiar with that. Had to give a demonstration. I think there are many different ways of getting enlightenment. Give a demonstration. But what about all these different ways of understanding and these different techniques in yogas and different... Oh, division. We had to take all of those divisions, take all those different states of mind, Buddhism, Taoism, etc., understanding as well, nihilism, materialism, dualism, there's something that exists but we can't connect with it, and so on and so on. Division. Definition, demonstration, division. And from division, what do we have to do to get to the last step? The step that takes you to the next level, the conclusion, that levels you up. That brings you back to the self, back to self, conclusion, back to the definition, with a new definition, with a higher definition, and a new level of usia that we can use to build on and work with and share with the world and develop upon. What do we do with division? We do definition, demonstration, division, self itself, how it functioned to another, what are the various different others of others, to the conclusion, which is the synthesis.
That's really talking about like his swamp to understand. Yes, dumb powders.
Cute.
Pineapple, right?
Cutie pie.
Synthesis. How do we get there? Because that synthesis then comes back to our definition to upgrade our definition. That's evolution. That's learning. That's a new level of usia or self-reflection. That's a new state of mind and understanding. We are climbing that ladder. Where's our ladder? Where's our ladder gone? I've lost my ladder. This is the worst time to lose the ladder. Oh dear. Here, no. Okay, I'm gonna pause for a second. So, you yourself, using what you have understood so far about the dialectic, the movement from division to synthesis, what we have put up on the board, wherever it is, I can't find it yet, and think about that question. What's the question? From the division, what can we pull out as that which is the most common or the most causal or the highest or that which incorporates everything? That's synthesis. We take it back to our definition. That's analysis. You end up with a new definition that you can build on, a new level of usia. You've climbed the ladder. What would it be? Think about it. Ponder for a little bit. And I'll be right back. And actually, I think for the first time, I'm going to keep the be right back screen on the screen specifically to encourage you to reflect for a little bit. And if you're a YouTube watcher, normally I cut this out, but you get to see my be right back screen as you wonder about that question. Get puzzled. back, and I have new juice. It's red, like the Red Hulk. Roar, I'm going to be the Red Hulk. Roar, roar. It's the Green Hulk. Who's the Red Hulk up here? The Red Hulk. Roar, roar. Not very scary. So, we're back, and I have my red juice. I have a coffee. It's a bit hot right now. And let's find where we are. So we're doing the midwifery stream. So we should ask. We should point out at least. Excuse me. That one of the blocks to your development is, well, if our development, as we've been seeing, is a progression through Usia, at any stage of that dialectic can be a block. Definition. Are you not being honest about what you think? Do you not have a question? Are you not curious about something? Demonstration. Are you not talking about how it functions? Where we are at is conclusion. Failing to conclude prevents you from making that jump to Usia. There are various ways. Hey, distraction, look over there. Your parents might be like, oh, we've got to rush to get you to school, or we've got to rush to do this thing. Don't conclude about whatever we're doing. That's one way of doing it. Oh, you shouldn't conclude because you're too stupid. It's another way of doing it. What do you know? Only an expert can conclude. Oh, conclusions are arrogant. You can never know the mind of God. Only when you die, maybe, if you haven't sinned. And by the way, I'll tell you what sin is. And by the way, give me your money. And take off your pants. These are all ways of not concluding. Or lies. Now, something's happening with my... Okay. Let's ignore that for now. So we need to conclude. We need to understand what concluding is. And we've seen this here. As... Yes, conclusion. Synthesis and analysis. And little yellow lines everywhere. So we don't need those right now. Let's delete them. Am I bright enough? I think we're all right. So, synthesis and analysis. Well, we need something to synthesize. So, did we divide it all out sufficiently? Looks all right to me. Division looks all right. Look how pretty. Look how pretty. See how pretty? Pretty. Synthesis and analysis. Is there something here that takes all of the parts into the whole? Now, why am I saying takes all of the parts into the whole? Well, we talked about many different ways of going from division to conclusion or division to synthesis. A repeating theme that runs through everything. We've got some themes that run through everything, like that purple line here. And stuff over here. Something that stands out to you. Something that's causal. So the self causes all this. Why am I asking for something that takes all of the parts into a whole? Yesterday, we had a dream analysis stream. And the hypothesis that we are carrying as we test in our experience is our dream master, through our dreams, is the guide to our work in philosophy and midwifery. It will guide you. It will give you some help. It won't give you the answers, but it can give you some direction. It can point out things you've missed. It can give you what you need to address the questions you have. It can do lots of things, but specifically, most importantly, it will guide you in your philosophy and midwifery. One of the messages in the dream we did yesterday was to take, when doing work on my own, sharing it with a group, doing that which benefits, there is a time when you will take the parts into a greater whole. And I didn't know what it meant at the time. Kind of brushed past that to focus on the other elements, but I kept it in mind as a puzzle and a question. That's the game. What's the significance of a question? Well, that's one of the questions we've been carrying all the way through this. Be on a quest.
You're a wizard, Harry.
To do the archetype of the hero's journey.
You're a wizard, Harry. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
To share your questions with others, to join a group, a party group, an adventuring party group. We talked about being open and curious and the conditions for meditation. Holding a question in this kind of a way is meditation. Lots of things. But another way, significant reason and benefit for holding a question is maybe the information will come up later. Maybe it's a guide for something that's about to happen. And my back is sore. Adjusting myself here. There we go. There we go. There we go. And that was one, and there were a few questions that I had at the end of the dream analysis, which is part of the point. And one of them was, what's this parts into whole thing? What's the relevance? I didn't see it at the time. Carrying it as a question, not just ignoring it or dismissing it, it comes up now to guide. So, out of all of the various ways of synthesizing our divisions, thank you for the definition provided or the question provided by our chatter. Thank you so much. I am picking the element or the aspect that brings all the parts into a whole, because that was the guidance from our Dream Master. And we can say, well, part of this game is following the logos. And as Socrates says, and we're reading in this book. Oh, actually, yeah, we read this in a book, and I think the last chapter. Following the logos also involves recognizing that the logos has its own demands. You look for the patterns, you look for the symmetry, you look for problems, you look for self in everything you do. You look for problems to discover the pathologos, false image of the self. This was all in the dream. I need more red juice. but also recognize the Logos has its own demands. Following the Logos means not trying to force what you think is control. And that was one of the chatter's questions today. Well, wouldn't that mean letting go of control? Sure. And the right opinions or the data that we presented to address that question was, well, who's really in control? If we are guided by a pathologo sense of self that keeps us bound to ignorance, suffering, and stagnation, prevents us from climbing this ladder, do we really want that in control? Of fucking course not. So yeah, no shit, you're not in control. Good, you're not in control, because the you that you think you are is the exact thing causing your problems. The self should be in control. You, your real you, not you that you think you are at the beginning of your journey. Well, then how does the self control us or guide us if what we think we are is the very cause of our problems? The more that we try. Now, I don't mean like give up. Like force what we think is our control and not being open to the Logos. If that's what causes our problems, then how does the real self guide us? That's the Logos. That's following the Logos. And the Logos has its own demands, and we can get that most clearly through our dreams. Now, and the more we do midwifery and free ourselves from the kaka daemon, from the negative, destructive thoughts, distractions, tangents, fantasies that keep us bound to our ignorance, then we'll be able to hear the voice of the daemon or the voice of the self, the Logos, more clearly. But along the way, our dreams guide us. And the dreams, as we've seen, communicate through the dialectic. That's why we apply the dialectic to unpack it. That's why it's dream analysis and not dream interpretation. That's why it's a new thing that we're learning together. And yesterday we said, well, I wonder what my next dream is going to be like. And it's a short dream that I remember, and it was saying about writing a book on dream analysis. So one of the goals for our channel is to provide the material, I suppose, to from our experiences that we do together as a group, as a community, as we learn dream analysis, to piece together the book on dream analysis. That was the instruction from the Dream Master, and here I am talking about following the Logos also involves following the demands of the Logos. Not just recognizing the intelligible order and the patterns in the symmetry, guiding us at all times, especially if we apply the dialectic wherever we can, and apply the self wherever we can, and look for problems wherever we can. Again, those were from the dreams yesterday. But following the instructions. And the instructions, well, the book, but also the instructions specifically here was to look for that which brings the parts together to a whole. So, what's our question? If this is the game, if this is what we're here for, if this is needed for our own development, if this is needed for benefit, helping our friends, helping our loved ones, if this is what's needed for a truly loving relationship, a truly healthy relationship, true mastery, true leadership, true guidance, if this is the art of humanity, not just humanity, any intelligent species who have evolved to the level of self-reflection and language, if this is the art of everything self, what name are we going to give it? In other words, from all of these pictures and this division and this reflection, triggered by the book, asking questions designed to surface the field of data from which the subjects can puzzle out meaning. So we did that. We're doing it now. That's the pictures. We're putting it into experience. From that, and from sharing it, from our questions, from our chatter, from all of this data, what can we synthesize together as that which has scope over everything, brings it all into a whole, that we can call this art that we are here as our purpose, as the meaning of life, our purpose for being alive. Well, ladder. The art of ladder. No. The art of helping? No. To help is to have an art, so that's not right. What is a whole that has a scope over all of the parts? Oh, looky.
Wow.
No, not yet.
That's
Arun?
where you live.
Stop telling me I live in the weirdo pool. Here we go. Look. What has scope over all of this? This thing here. That's what this symbol means. This one here, the wavy bracket. We've got philomathesis. That allows you to progress through your opinions and beliefs, to recognize, hang on a second, we're in time and space, this doesn't last, but all of these adjectives that we use to describe things that are most meaningful, like beauty and justice, and even same and different. What's the noun that must necessarily be the cause? I know enough science that I don't look at particular examples of gravity. I want the principle or theory of gravity. I know enough science to know that, hey, when I learn veterinary, whatever, I don't learn how to fix this one dog, but all dogs. We want the cause, the principle or cause of the things that we see here. That kind of reflection, philomathesis, loving of learning, takes you to the top of becoming, and then whatever you realize is the most important thing to be learning about, midwifery, philosophy, dream analysis, transitions you through hyparxis, because hyparxis means the top of this level has 1 foot at the top of this one and the bottom of this one. Now you're in philosophy, philosophia, love of wisdom. And then the highest aspect of being that we can reflect on, should itself have 1 foot in here and 1 foot in there. That's the principle of hyparxis. That's the principle of growth. That's also, there's a famous principle as well. I'm going to mention it because I heard it today on one of those debunking grifter YouTube channels that I like sometimes. Dr. Richard, I think it is. Goodall's principle is you can't be contained. You can't have a system of understanding that's self-contained and complete. In other words, if you've completely understood something, you realize it requires something of the next level. That's hyparxis, which is important because we don't want to get stuck. We want to keep going. So, philomathesis into philosophia into philophrenesis. Which of these are we going to say is the art? Is it philosophy? Is it philomathesis? Hey, we could even upgrade philosophy. Say, hey, you philosophers, you're not really doing the best thing. You should be doing philophrenesis. But we don't want to discount the human we got to go through all of it. It's part of being human. So what incorporates all of it? Understanding. Look at it here. Hooray. 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 Push all the buttons. Hooray.
Something you just don't know what you're supposed to be now. Chip meme, or you're really stupid.
What feminists want is to specifically ruin your life.
Understanding. Understanding. Each. This is the whole that incorporates all the parts. So what's the art we're learning? Well, got a lot of philos there up on the board. So let's take our so we take that which is the whole that that unifies all of the parts, and we take it back to our original definition. What were we saying that we're here to do? Philosophy? Well, actually, let's bring understanding back into the fold, because it's not just philosophy. It's also philophronesis. It's also philomathesis. It's also recognition of the levels of existence, ontology, if you want to be fancy, but the dimensions of reality. There's a physical world. There is a non-physical world, a world of being. There is the self beyond that. Take all that with us. We also have to take this with us too. Everyone needs to be able to be judged according to states of mind and understanding. No matter what tradition or color you are or gender you are, none of those things matter at all. You're all a human being with a level of understanding and a state of mind that can be ranked and judged within a hierarchy that's true for everyone. And you don't pick favorites. That's stupid. The fact that you want to pick favorites is an example of a problem that you can address with this art as well. It has to include the idea that you use this art to benefit another person, and that through asking questions to provide this body of data that they can themselves reflect on with their own curiosity and wonder, because they want to play, because they're not being forced. We have to include that it has to be a kind of mature and rational exercise, because it's a learning and nurture that can go beyond this lifetime, and therefore the thing that we should be doing and not anything else that's only temporary or transitory. We have to include all that, and the fact that these people who are stuck require another people. There are certain levels that require you to speak, you to share, you to talk, you to reach out, you to want to master the art and share that with others, because some people require another person to come in and ask them questions, like a nihilist. Has to include all that back in the original definition. What are we going to take? Our original definition, the love of what? What's true love? Our chatter today said, I think enlightenment's about seeing love itself. Love of what? Love of learning? Love of wisdom? Love of self, the state of self? Love of opinions? Love of material wealth? What? Love of... What do we say? Love without understanding is terrible. Tragic. But if understanding is the whole, philo, what's the Greek word for understanding? Philodianoia. Philodianoia. That's the art. That's the art that incorporates all of this. The love of understanding. What kind of understanding? You mean understanding the physical world? Understanding how to make money? Understanding how many beans there are in China? Understanding this metaphysical world? Understanding the levels? Understanding the difference between Taoists and Buddhists and Sufists? And understanding the self? Understanding the first hypothesis of Parmenides? Understanding the analogy of the sun and the republic? How about understanding all of it, so that you can function with mastery and an art that is necessary to actually benefit yourself, your fellow man, your species, aliens, whatever planet, whatever cosmos, whatever time, whatever dimension you find yourself in. The art of philodianoia. If our chatter has stuck around for long enough, they might have their answer. If they've been distracted by some other tangent, they won't. They're in a problem. They're stuck. And we will do our best to encourage them to do midwifery if we ever see them. More likely they'll run away like everyone else, like most people. Soon there'll be enough of us, let's hope, a Let's not hope. Let's work. Let's play. If we play well enough, there'll be enough of us that they'll realize there's nowhere else to run. This is where the fun's at. This is the quest of man. And this is the true art above all arts necessary to be a good person, to benefit and to reach your highest purpose. Philodianoia. On that note, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have fun learning the art of Philodianoia. I hope you're curious. I hope you're puzzled. I hope you want to play. And I hope you share it with the people you love in your life. What kind of love? The love of Dianoia. What's Dianoia? An understanding that incorporates all of this. Have we invented a new subject? Sure. Not really. We've just put a name on it. Philodianoia. The human quest? No, the self's quest to master the art of all arts. The art of Philodianoia. Thank you again for joining me. I hope to see you next time. Feel free to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow on Twitch. Join the Discord if you want to get notification when we go live, or meet people that you can share your thoughts and questions with, or give suggestions to improve the channel. I think there's a donation link somewhere around if you want to help me buy a new chair, or buy a new webcam, or buy a better soundboard.
Too stupid to understand. If you don't understand this, you're either being unbelievable sluts. These.
I can improve on that. But yeah, thank you once again, and I hope to see you in the next one.